All right, welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? Let's do an audio and visual check. Can you hear me, Coach Jay? Let's make sure I got the sound correct tonight.
Yep, you sound loud and clear to me. Sounds pretty good. Thank you for having me back. Excited to be here.
Yeah, how does it sound for you guys in the chat? Can you hear myself and Coach Jay okay? We sound good? Audio's
Sounds
good?
good.
Wow, okay. Wow, that is, man, it feels so good. That's better than a winning trade to me.
Dakota, I think you're getting better at this.
Man, better at this than I am at trading sometimes. This is more satisfying than actually placing a winning trade, is getting the freaking audio correct.
Right.
When I have a guest on Slow Markets. Yeah, we have Coach Jay here. He was supposed to be here last week, but we it sounds like, and you could probably speak on this, Coach Jay. You had your dog had a heat stroke and you couldn't make it. So I'm happy
Yep.
to have you on tonight. We're going to be going over the live markets as always. Just so we can get started, I'm Coach Dakota, Coach TBA. Right above me, you can see this is Coach Jay, one of our amazing coaches here at Topstep. And I posted our Topstep risk disclosure in the YouTube chat. We're going to be talking about the live markets, and everything that we're talking about is for educational purposes only. So let's dive into it. I'm going to switch to my charts. I do, and as I'm going through tonight, I just want to show, literally as I was clicking start stream, I got into a long Nikkei. So Japanese market NKD, long Nikkei right here, right now. We'll go over it in a moment, but first we're going to talk about NASDAQ. We're going to start about NASDAQ, how our trading was today. I know you, Coach Jay, you were on TopstepTV. I was on for Fast Markets with my trading buddy Rips, and we had some fun. It was a very volatile day. It was pretty crazy. I was trading my live account. I went in today with a very bearish mindset, and all my trades was short. Even though we had a really bullish day, all my trades were short. At one point in time, I was down $6,000. My daily loss limit is 9,000, so I was really close to it. But then I ended up finishing the day pretty much plus 4,000. So it was a crazy day, a lot of volatility, some ups, some downs. How was it for you, Coach Jay?
So I didn't trade too much during fast markets. I actually had some trades overnight last night that worked out pretty well. Like I was telling you, I traded the Japanese yen. I was looking to short the NASDAQ all day too, but we had that PPI candle, which is if the first
Yeah,
eight the
we'll switch to
8:30.
your charts and you can go through it. There you go.
Sounds good. So this candle right here, where we had the news, that kind of held as support all day. So while I was shorting, we had VWAP here. We had the high of this candle holding. I was looking for shorts, and Andre kind of messages us asking, "Hey, do you guys see anything?" I was looking to the short side as well, but unless we accepted back inside that candle, I really didn't like anything I saw. I guess I could have flipped my bias and went long, but just like you, Dakota, I was looking to the short side. I think the last time we were on here, I figured out that I'm a perma bull. So it gave some opportunities to short, but I think you had to be in the right trade location. And that's kind of how you recovered your day. And then towards the end of the day, I was looking again back to the short side. We had this extended move up. We had VWAP that was still around 18,325, so it didn't go with price. So I was looking for maybe a reversion back to that VWAP, kind of in the same trade that we were in the house account. Feel like we just ran out of time on that move, but was able to take a few points out of that.
Okay. And did you place any trades before we had inflation data? And maybe that's why I was a little bit biased, was because
Terrible news.
inflation data came in a little bit hot. And then
Right.
also what Pal said. Pal was like, inflation's a little bit higher than we expected. And then we kept rallying, and I'm over here trying to short the market, and that's what led me to a $6,000 drawdown intraday.
Yep.
And I believe at one point in time that we were both short together.
Yep. Yeah. What price was that? I can't even remember. Was it later in the day or was it during power hour?
It
I mean,
was
during
later in the day.
Yep. Yes.
I can't exactly remember where.
It was pretty much the same short that you had. I got short twice. So when we pushed above 18,400, there was about 150 lots sitting there. When it
Hmm.
filled, I didn't see like the shorter term follow through. So I was looking for a pullback. I kept my stop a little bit too tight on that one. So I got stopped out of that initially and then got back in the trade up in the 420s and then was able to take it back down there. I know you said in the chat your stop was around 33 and a quarter. Mine was somewhere around 35.
Yeah.
It was close. It was scary. Uh, but you establish your risk, and it is what it is. No trade is going to hurt you that much if you establish how much you're going to lose before you even put it on. And it worked out. Like I said, I think we ran out of time on that trade, but the market has to close eventually.
Yeah, and we get a few questions in. Now, someone was saying, "What made price go up today?" I don't know. I was trying to short it, and if you could, we'll switch to my screen and we'll go over the NASDAQ, and I'll go over some analysis, and I'll kick it over to you, Coach Jay, and you could go over what you're expecting going into tonight, maybe tomorrow. We do have a big day tomorrow, just so we're all aware that tomorrow's Wednesday. We have core CPI, big inflation data, of course, core retail sales month over month, core CPI month over month, and core CPI year over year. And then, of course, we have the Empire State Manufacturing and retail sales month over month. And that is all coming right before market open. So it's going to be very volatile. And there's going to be a lot of people probably waiting on their hands, sitting on their hands, not wanting to put a position on long or short, waiting for that information. So that will affect the way I view tonight and the way that I view going into slow markets and placing any trades. Very similar to yesterday. I didn't have a single trade on last night. There was one trade on gold. We'll talk about that later. But here's the NASDAQ. You can see this is the NASDAQ daily chart. I do have a trend line. And of course, hindsight's 2020. Today, we literally, like over the past couple of days, we broke out of it. Today, we sold off, immediately rejected, and we started rallying up above 400. So I was expecting, and you could imagine, if we take away today, and when we did sell back down into like the 18,100s, 18,200s, I was looking for us to be another inside candle, maybe a down day. That's why I was bearish. That's why I was shorting the market, looking for us to just consolidate and continue to hover. I was wrong. We broke out. We rallied up. And man, look how bullish we have been ever since, like all that. The sky is falling, and we're going into a recession. All that dramatic sell-off. And it was quite the sell-off in 1 week. And then here we are right back to where we began that sell-off. So obviously what people are going to be talking about is, all-time highs. We're not too far. We're honestly 1 day away from, testing all-time highs. I don't know if we'll get to all-time highs. If we have lighter than expected inflation, maybe we could get there. I'm not going to plan for anything. But if we zoom into a 60-minute chart, let's go through and just kind of zoom in. From a technical standpoint, nothing's really changed. We continue to make higher lows and higher highs. We've been kind of following a little bit of a channel right here where, buying the bottom of this channel, selling the tops of this channel has been pretty decent. Of course, being a buyer has paid off a lot more than a seller. I'm going to stay on my hands. I don't want to sell the market up here, but I would expect a pullback between now and tomorrow morning's inflation data. So that's all I have for now. How about you, Coach Jay? I'm going to switch to your charts, and if you want to go over the NASDAQ, what you're looking at tonight and going into tomorrow.
Yeah, I would agree with you. There's not much I would want to do on the NASDAQ tonight. We know we have big news out tomorrow. And if we look at what happened, and I'm on a 3-minute chart right now, if we look at what happened last night before the data, it was range bound, right? So I'm not expecting any kind of continuation of a move. Not to say that there won't be opportunities, but we know where the bigger opportunities are going to come from. So my first trade in the NASDAQ tomorrow is going to be after that CPI print. And I'll show you guys kind of how I like to frame out these candles. I am using TopstepX right now. I would have a little bit more information on Quantower, but give me 1 second. Let me find out how to find a drawing tool real quick, and we're just going to do this. I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow, right? So we have this news candle. I want to know where the high, the low, and 50% of it is. And we can see, and Coach Paul and I say this all the time, you do not have to trade that news candle to have a good day. I'm going to frame out the candle first. If we were able to see delta on TopstepX, which we will soon, the delta in this candle was positive, right? So as scary as this candle looks to the downside, buyers technically won that candle, although it closed lower than where it opened. So with knowing that 50% of that candle with risk at the lows, or maybe 25% of it, is a great trade. Now, if we zoom out, that would have been the best trade location on the day. And the lows outside of that. So I'm looking for the same exact setup tomorrow. Let the news print, see who wins that candle. Is it buyers or sellers? And then take an opportunity from there. Is it going to turn out into, a 150-point trade? Maybe, maybe not. But if it provides good trade location, then I go ahead and take the trade and manage the risk.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that. I'm not much of a news trader, Coach Jay. I struggle with trading the news. I like to trade maybe like after the news. And
yep.
I mean, even sometimes I struggle to trade after the news because my worst habit, and I think it showed today during fast markets, is I tend to get a bias and I stick to that bias. And sometimes that bias kind of gets in the way from my trading. Like today, where I'm just like, you know what, it's high inflation data, Powell said higher for longer, and I think he even might have mentioned like a hike. There was small probability. I don't know because I didn't listen to it too much. I let that skew my view, and I think that's a really good point to make because that's one of my big mistakes. I tend to make it more often than I like, trying to get a biased that kind of supersedes my trading plan. And then after the day, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I took a loss. What happened? And I review my day. I'm like, I should have just followed my trading plan, stuck to very basic technical analysis, and it worked out. And I realized that halfway through slow markets, took the trade again. It followed my rules, and I ended up, grinding my way back. Maybe grinding my way back is not the right word, but I ended up today plus 4,000. So, how about you? Have you ever found yourself in a position, Coach Jay, where you're trading the news or you get that type of bias or opinion? I know it's hard for me, and I'm sure it's hard for some other traders, but I'm really curious on that.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I think we're human, right? And we hear bad news and you think that the market should have a specific reaction to it. But if you've been trading long enough, you know that the markets don't have to make sense. And sometimes bad news is good news, right? And that's why I think it's important, like you said, to kind of detach from why something is happening and just understand the fact that it is happening, right? And traders will ask all the time, and I said it on TopstepTV today, why is it going up? There are more buyers than sellers, right? Why they're buying, we don't know, right? And I see some traders disagree with that, but and they say, it's even. There's a seller for every buy, but we got to find out who's more aggressive, right? And market orders are usually going to push the market, and bad selling has to turn into buying at some point, right? And I think that's what happened here. We broke out of this range. Sellers had to buy to close the day, and that's going to push us up.
Yeah.
I try not to interpret the news too much, especially not for a day trade.
Yeah. I mean, we are day traders. We can't really let our bias. I'm not the best trader. We're not the best traders, and whoever claims to be the best traders, has another thing coming. The markets tend to humble them. And that's one thing I struggle with. So anyway, that being said, we always want to be trading the price action that's in front of us, regardless of our opinion. And let's move to crude oil. Do you trade crude oil, Coach Jay?
I do. I haven't lately. I've been trading. I try to look at some of the energies. I think some of the other energies have been moving a little bit better than crude. But yes, I will trade crude oil as well.
Okay. So I do have a crude oil chart in front of me. It's been some interesting price action. I've been pretty bullish as we've been around $78 to $79 a barrel. As you know, I've been a firm believer that we are in a bullish trend since December. which you can see here on my chart. This is an hourly chart on crude oil. We've made this $78 a barrel as a strong resistance. And you can see how much time we've spent around here as a resistance. And then I've been looking for this to become support. And I'm still looking at it to become support. This is a daily chart, actually. So a daily chart here on crude oil. And over the past pretty much week or so, let's see, about just over a week, we've been kind of consolidating around, $78 a barrel to $79 a barrel. And I do believe that from a very basic technical standpoint, support will be, or this resistance will become support. And then as we zoom into a 60-minute chart, I've had this experience, Coach Jay, that crude loves to run stops. And I think that maybe just like we did here, right, where we ran some stops, maybe we did that again. Maybe we ran stops. I think this was, during the New York session, we ran stops down to 77, 70s. And now we're broke up. We're above 80s. We're kind of in the middle. I would like to be long crude. We do have a rollover. And so I'm curious, what's your opinion on a rollover? I don't like trading rollover. I know the general rule of thumb is trade the contract that has the most volume, right?
Yep. Yeah, rollover weeks are interesting, right? Because sometimes we see a ton of opportunity in rollover weeks. It's funny that you pointed out that stop run that you saw. I'm going to pull up because I had this on Quan Tower. Coach Paul and I were looking at this earlier today during the market recap. Hopefully you can see that. But that stop run that you talked about, it happened at 78, right? A whole number, psychological level. And then we kind of chopped around in that range the entire day, right? Here's that 3-minute candle. There were 13,000 contracts traded in that 3-minute candle alone. I think that's a function of rollover. Where we're kind of switching over. I'm going to try to pay attention to tomorrow how we trade this range, right? The high of the range is 78.39. The low of the range is 77.68. If this starts looking supportive and I'm seeing buyers come up here, then I think we can trade back up. But I'm thinking about how much room there might be available in this trade. This orange line we have up here is a weekly VWAP. And we can kind of see when we trade up there, we reject off of it. Yeah. I think crude is in a range right now until rollover week is over.
Fair enough. I agree with that statement. We have a couple questions. Coach, can you explain run stops or stop running? We have your chart up, Coach Jay. We have a couple good examples here on crude oil. But essentially, stop running is, if you can imagine, if you place a trade and you get in where you put your stop, the market goes to where you put your stop, fills your stop, closes you out of your trade, and then turns around in the opposite direction. So do you have any good examples while you have the chart up?
Yeah, so we're going to look at that candle exactly. I don't normally look at these during the trading day, but let's just see if we can see it. It's not going to show it now. Okay, it did it on a 1-minute candle. These are cluster charts. Guys, I'm a volume trader. I pay attention to volume all the time. If we were looking at this on a 1-minute chart, let me just switch to it so we can actually see it. There were from 78.25 down to about 78.10. There were about 1,000 contracts that got filled on the bid that looked like market selling. And that's so this is a stop run right here, right? You guys can see what's filled on the bid, what's filled on the ask is on the right side. I'm zooming in here. Look at all of this here. That's not someone, I don't think, that came in and just market sold it. It happened near a minor psychological level, 78.25 down to 78.10. And that all happened in a 1-minute candle with nothing on the ask, right? Nothing filled on the ask. That looks like a stop run to me, right? Okay. Somebody probably had an order sitting there, and that's a ton of contracts.
And when was that?
That was at 9:06 Eastern time.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep,
yeah,
that looks like a stop run.
I think that's a beautiful example for volume. And then if we switch to my charts, the way I look at it as well is just like this, right? Where everyone who is long, in this area right here or long throughout today, where would we like to have our stop loss? Below or above support and resistance? The market comes down, hits us, triggers us in, pretty much gets our liquidity. And is it fair to say, Coach Jay, a stop run could be same as a liquidity grab?
I would think so. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think those can be pretty much the same thing. We're running for liquidity where some stops are. And this is a good example. And what you, Coach Jay, showed it in terms of volume is another great example. And it visualize it in two different things, right? From a technical standpoint, and you can see it from the volume based. But we're right in the middle. I'm fine with that. I agree with you, Coach Jay. I suck at trading rollovers. And if we're in the middle of a rollover, I would much rather just wait. We have, other things to look at. We could trade NASDAQ. I have crude oil. I have gold. And I have the Nikkei. So I think that's enough for crude oil. Let's talk about gold. And then we could talk about my Nikkei trade. Everyone wants to talk about the Nikkei trade. And then last but not least, Coach Jay was showing me the Japanese yen. So we could trade currency here at Topstep. We could trade, let me correct that. We could trade currency futures here at Topstep, which is amazing. And it's centralized, and I love that so much. And Coach Jay had just told me before stream that he's been trading the Japanese yen, right? And it's been working out for you. So let's briefly run through gold. I have my charts. I have an hourly chart. I'm going to go through it really quick. Last night, guess what, guys? How was that trade? I wish I would have taken it. We had that nice sell-off yesterday. And during slow markets, look at this beautiful consolidation. That would have been a beautiful long trade. I didn't take it. I wish I would have. But, it's always that hindsight trading that would have happened where we are making higher lows. That sure as was. That was a higher low, and that was a beautiful trade. So anybody who took it, shout out. That was a great trade. We're at an area where I'm kind of bearish gold, Coach Jay, where you can see over here on the end of April, we do have a pivot high around 2360 zone, and we ended up having a little bit of resistance here, and we're seeing that resistance again right in this 2360 zone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do sell off, at least maybe see the 2350s again, the lower 2350s. What is your thoughts on gold? I'm bearish. We're up here around this resistance, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a sell-off. So back to your charts.
Where we're at right now, I'm actually bullish gold, but I wouldn't buy it here because I'd be buying at what are the highs of the day, right? So I would need a pullback first to buy it. But I feel like all the metals right now are kind of having this run to the upside. If you look at platinum, if you look at copper, silver as well, and they kind of all move in tandem. So I agree with you with some downside first, just because of where we are, right? If I'm a buyer of this, I can't buy it here, right? Because I'd be buying at the highs. Maybe a pullback back to maybe 2350 and 2350 holding. That gives me a better, a cheaper trade than trading it up here. But overall, I'm leaning towards the long side in all of the metals, just because of the metals are kind of having a moment right now. I think we have negative data out tomorrow with the inflation data. We can see that continue, but again, I wouldn't be taking a trade until after that number prints.
Fair enough. That makes sense to me. Like, we've been bullish, right? We're currently in a bullish channel. We're making higher lows and higher highs. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a pullback, but like you said, we do have inflation data coming out, and metals can be looked at as traders and people pushing money over there to a safe asset, and if there is fear in the markets. So fair enough for that. And then also, what is it? Gold is going to be rolling over too, just like crude oil, or Am I wrong?
I believe you're right. Right.
Okay.
Let me check the dates.
I don't keep track of that too much, to be honest, Coach Jay. It's all like, you know what? There's crude oil. I love my trading buddies. I love you. I love this community, and it's been very nice because everyone's helping each other, keeping on top of this stuff. It's just one more thing that I don't have to really focus too much on. where
Yeah.
we get to do this together, and every single day or
If
every
I hear
single week.
Hoag talking about a rollover, then I know it's rollover time. I think it's next
Yeah.
week for gold, but Hoag he keeps us up to date on all that stuff because,
Yeah.
like you said, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, there we go. There's the big plug and the big shout out to
Yep.
Topstep TV and Hoag, where, hey, if you don't know, follow Topstep TV. They'll give it to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, Nikkei. Let's talk about this Nikkei trade. Then we'll jump over to the Japanese yen and what you're trading. So here is the reason why I got long Nikkei. So Nikkei, Japanese yen. We had this nice, beautiful, bullish market
Dakota,
during.
I think you have my charts up right
Yep. Good call. So here's my market, Nikkei,
now. There you go.
which is the Japanese market, ticker symbol NKD. I don't really recommend it for new traders because it's $25 per tick. I do trade it. I do talk about it. So let's talk about it. So it's been a very bullish day for the New York session, and sometimes the New York session tends to trickle into the Asian markets. We did break through these highs. We broke through these highs, and we did break through this bearish trend. And I'm like, okay, you know what? This trend line is no longer being very held. If we was going to sell off, so be it. I'm okay with us, rallying. We rallied all the way up to 38,850. And we sold all the way back up. And I was looking for this support. Like, okay, you know what? Support becomes resistance. It's all a zone. And the first thing that I do see was right around here. I was kind of, maybe this is I was being a little bit impatient, but, sometimes I tend to try and get in a little bit quicker than a lot of traders should. And as we start to zoom in, I got into a position right here at 38,540. 3 contracts. Just looking for a bounce up. And actually, as we're talking, the first thing I'm looking at, the first thing I want to see, I want to make sure I have a nice stop loss here. So here is my stop loss right around 38,460. And I'm okay to start taking profits at 38,615. And the reason why, basic technical analysis, we have, this is where we started to bounce. Maybe we get back up there and maybe the support can become resistance again. So I'm going to watch this. Maybe I hold a runner or two. That being said, how do you like Nikkei? Have you traded it? What's your thoughts on it? I'm sure a lot of traders know it has a very thin order book, and it's definitely not recommended for beginners.
Check. Yeah, I have traded the Nikkei. I will trade the Nikkei. I will trade pretty much any market that moves. Last night in my in the TopstepX combine, I did take a short in the Nikkei. Was a short-lived trade, but was able to make some profits on that. I'm trying to find exactly where that trade was. We will eventually be getting your executions on TopstepX, so you know exactly where you entered and exited trades. But I did take a short somewhere around here. I can't remember exactly where that trade was. But yeah, I'll trade it. Like you said, thin order book, so I'm not going to trade it paying attention to volume and all these other things. Going to take it level to level. I was telling you before we got on, whatever this level is up here, kind of mark this out. This is going back to April 4th. We've rejected off that level maybe 4 times, and we did it again tonight. Not sure why that's significant to the market participants that are trading the Nikkei, but it is. It's a resistance, and if we keep rejecting off of it, it's an area to take a trade. I like where your long is right now. I see the support that you took your trade off of.
Mm-hmm.
There's opportunity in a bunch of places.
Yeah, there's always opportunity in so many different markets. That being said, a couple of questions for you guys before we switch over to the Japanese yen. So the first thing, Coach Jay, do you know Brett Steenbarger? Have you heard of him? Am I saying his name right?
Yep. Yeah, you got it right. Brett Steenbarger.
I do not know much about him. What? It sounds like he's going to be on Topstep TV soon. And Danielle, if she shows up tonight here in YouTube, she might drop a forum that we can ask him questions. So apparently he's a big trading psychology. I don't know much about him.
Yeah, he has a trading blog. I actually just put the link in the chat. Hey Danielle,
There she
I just
is.
put the link in the chat. I've read some of his stuff. It's pretty good, but he's kind of the guy in trading psychology. I think a lot of trading psychologists get a lot from him. I think that's going to be a great segment. The same way Dr. Jenny was on today. I think I think Steenbarger focuses a little bit more on the trading side. But if you have the opportunity, traders, to ask questions, whenever that form is available, ask the questions. Right? I don't think any question is a stupid question. It probably relates to most of us as traders. So ask it, and you get an answer from, Danielle just said, the godfather of trading psychology.
You haven't read his books then, right? 'Cause
I have not. Nope.
I haven't. I didn't know much about him. I looked at him. I looked him up when I heard he's going to be on, and Hoop said he's going to be on Thursday. And so I looked him up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have. Like, why don't I know about him? I'm a trader. I've been trading for 14 plus years, and I didn't know much about him. So I'm spending some time looking into him. And this is the thing: as a trader, we're always learning. But this continues to just blow my mind on how Topstep continues to bring on these huge heavy hitters, these very reputable people. Peter Tuchman, this guy, Brett Steenbarger, and continuing to bring these reputable people, and he's doing it for everybody here to grow the community, to grow Topstep, to help traders out. And me and you were saying this back in what, Coach Jay, like July, August. I'm like, man, Topstep is hands down the best. Like,
Yep.
we're getting ready to start Topstep TV. This is right as Topstep was starting Topstep TV, and we're just like, how great of an opportunity is this, where traders could watch this for free, and it's a company that was built by traders. MP and Hoag and
Yep.
Eddie and the whole team that came from the trading floor and built this company, and they're bringing on these people, and they're bringing traders who actually trade. And it's something that I've absolutely cherished growing with and being here at Topstep.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's been a great opportunity. And again, for traders, Topstep is doing this all for traders. If I had something like this where you could ask, right, and most of your questions are getting answered by people with years of experience. Anytime I get a chance, right, anytime I'm on with Hoag, I'm on with Eddie or Deanna, Anne Marie, anyone, I'm asking questions, right? Because I've been doing this for 10 years, but there's still a lot for me to learn as well. And the fastest way to improve at anything is to ask questions. Ask as many as you want.
I learn a lot too. I really do from yourself, the other coaches, Hoag. I learn a lot, and from our Discord community. So, yeah, that being said, and then I've been trading TopstepX this past couple days, getting used to it, learning about it. We have Coach Robert coming on tomorrow, so big shout out, Coach Robert. He's going to be on tomorrow. We're going to be talking about TopstepX. He's probably going to show me some things, and I'm going to be that guy that is the new trader asking probably the dumbest question that everybody already knows. But that's okay. I still have a lot to learn as I'm getting used to TopstepX. Now, that being said, and before we start talking about stop losses, let's hear about the Japanese yen and the currencies that you're trading.
Before you do that, talk about that Nikkei trade that you're in. It is working out beautifully right now.
Yeah, I forgot about that. First take profit hit 615. Let's see if I could get out of another one up here. I changed my stop loss to 2 contracts, tightened it up a little bit right below here. Now, here would be a perfectly example of a liquidity run or a stop loss, is if we sold off, ran my stop, and then we rallied back up. That would be my stop loss hunt. It happens. I hate it. It happened to the house account this morning during fast markets. Yeah, I think I'm just going to get out of another one and see if I can let this puppy run and see. Yeah, I love letting trades run, especially when a trade's going my favor, locking in profit. And once I'm in profit, it's one of my favorite things to do is letting it run. And it's hard for me when we start getting a choppy market, and markets doesn't allow me. And sometimes I do have to adjust sometimes. But anyway, as my trade's going, I'll keep you guys updated, but let's hear it. I know there's a lot of currency traders here in the YouTube chat. There's a lot of currency traders that's making the switch from Forex to futures. There's traders. There's so much education out there about futures and of course Forex. Let's hear it. We can trade currencies here at Topstep, and you are one of them. You've been trading it. It's your charts. There's the Japanese yen.
All right, so I'm just going to zoom out really quick on this, go back as far as we can. I have this chart on Quantower as well.
I'm going to run and go get a drink while you do this.
Yep, sounds good. The Japanese yen has been, if you're a currency futures trader, you know this. The Japanese yen has been in this downtrend for about 8 months. I got to thank Coach Paul for bringing this one up. He's been swing trading it and just on the short side, right? There's not much of a reason to buy these markets. The Japanese government had done some intervention last week where they bought about $23 billion of the yen. We can actually see that right here where we have these volume spikes. The market spikes back up, but you can see exactly what happens after that, back to the sell-off. So I did take a short in the yen last night. We'll zoom into exactly where that is. Let's see if we clean these charts up. And really the way I'm trading this is these trades are going to take a little bit of time. They're not quick trades. I'm not looking to scalp the yen. I'm looking for, if we're in a downtrend for 8 months, right? I'm not looking to call the bottom because I don't know where that is. But I want to try to find a spot that makes sense in this trend to short it. The moving averages that I have on here, and I'll use these moving averages to try to get into trend trades. The white one you see up here is the 200 moving average. The market's well below that. The purple is the 50 moving average, and then the gold one is the 20 moving average. And normally what markets do when they're trending, especially if we have this separation between the 20 and the 50, is hold the 20, right? So last night, the short that I got in was we traded up towards this 20 moving average. We rejected it. So I got in short right around here and then just held it, right? This is a trade that I'm going to go to sleep on. I know where my risk is. I think I was risking on 3 contracts. I think I was risking about $500 total on this trade. My stop was somewhere up above here where if the market was to turn around, then I'm wrong, and that's okay. But for the past 8 months, if you got good trade location on a short, you were probably right on the trade for the end of the day. I actually forgot I had this trade on, and I woke up and I checked Quantower first because that's my main platform for now that I'm trading on as I get comfortable with TopstepX. And then I saw we had the PPI number that came out. That affected the yen as well. And then this chart kind of looked like everything else for the day where we had this spike down, we came right back up, but the yen hung around this area. So at that point, I trailed my stop down to about $600 in the profit and said, you know what, wherever it goes, it's going to go. Got back up and took me out. Looking for a similar trade today, right? We can see, let's see, trying to get a measuring tool.
So you've been going through that learning curve on TopstepX too, right?
Yeah.
I seen that Coach Robert posted a bunch of trading videos on the YouTube. I've watched some of those, and that's helped me a little bit.
Yeah. So right now, if I got short, and what I do as a measuring tool for right now until I figure out a better way to do this, if I short a 1 lot and risk these highs, that's risking about $87. So I could probably take that short with 2 contracts, which I'm just going to do. And again, this is not trading advice. This is we're looking at these markets. I lose trades all the time. But I like this market to the short side, and it's been a nice short. It is the one thing I'm conscious about is these moving averages kind of converging, right? When they start to overlap, that means at least for the short term, the trend may be ending. Or turning the opposite way. You can kind of see these 20 and 50 moving averages getting close. But I like this rejection up here. So I'm going to go ahead and take a short.
We're watching Coach Jay place a live trade on slow markets. Is that what's going on?
That's what's happening. I'm going to just sell 2 at the market. And we are going to risk above these highs. And there we go. So with a 2 lot risking about $250. And I would look for this to trade back down towards these lows of this PPI move. There is going to be some reaction to CPI tomorrow, the same way there was to PPI today, but my stop is in place. If I get hit, it gets hit, and I'm okay with the risk.
There we go. Currency trading. I think I told you this, Coach Jay, a while ago. I came from currency markets, options, currencies. I used to work for an old prop firm as a little bit of a coach and technical analysis. And I was so young, and the currency was just crazy. It was the Wild West where everyone was putting just, not only do we have to deal with spreads, but then we had to deal with like companies putting spreads on spreads, and you never really know where it's being executed. It's not centralized. It's a mess, but it really does feel nice that these currency futures are centralized and they're regulated. And maybe I start looking at the Japanese yen or the euro US dollar again, because there's something to be said. It could be a little bit more volatile at this time of night, which might make sense.
Absolutely. And if you look at all the currencies, you just mentioned the euro, right? The euro has been in a range for the last 8 months, where if you're a range bound trader and you're looking for some opportunity somewhere else, the euro, and I'll just bring it up real quick. I don't trade it because I'm the worst range bound trader in the world. Trying to improve at it, but I need to take some Dolby classes, but it's been in this range, right? You can see the difference between what this looks like and the Japanese yen looks like. These are not easy for me to trade, but there's opportunity for everyone out there.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. I agree with it. And we get a lot of currency traders. I get a lot of currency questions, sometimes in Discord or DMs. But it's nice to know. And there was a couple people in the chat. I seen it briefly. Yeah, Topstep is a real prop firm, guys. You guys seen me last night. I don't think you've seen it, Coach, where I'm in the live account, and guess what? Live account, live order went through. It's on the order books. It's a true prop firm. It really is.
Yeah, your 30 lot on the Nikkei. I was just like, oh God, please don't get filled.
Like, spoofing. I mean, if it got filled, I would have been excited. I'm like, yes, I want to get filled at that level. But yeah, it's real. Everything's real. That's why I'm here. I love it. Real traders, real orders, all that fun stuff. Now let's talk about stop losses. We're coming down in the last 15 minutes, and the question that a lot of traders get, I use a little bit of an ATR, Coach Jay. How do you put stop losses? Everybody manages their stop loss a little bit different, and everyone knows, just like the house account and Andre, today it could be super frustrating when you get stopped out and the market turns around and it goes right in the direction that you thought it was going to go. I struggle with stop losses. Trust me, I do. Everyone's seen today during Power Hour, I was short NASDAQ. I had my stop loss at 18,433 and a quarter, and I got so lucky. The market rallied all the way up to 18,433, did not stop me out. It was really close to the house account stop loss, and it turned around. So sometimes you get lucky, and we were talking about liquidity runs, stop losses. How do you find, from your personal experience, the way that you find best how to put your stop losses? And I seen you put a trade on the Japanese yen. You put your stop loss. Why did you put your stop loss there? And maybe can you walk through that?
So this stop loss is strictly market structure based. And I'm looking at it a little bit more. I put it above an area that I like, but I'm going to move this up actually a little bit, where there's this support here. I want to be right above that. So this is strictly based on market structure. Trying to find an area where I think the market does not have the potential to trade back up to. I want to give my trade room to work out, but I'm also conscious of how much that's going to cost me with these two contracts on. If it's a market that I've never traded before, I'm going to use a 2 ATR stop on whatever time frame I've entered the trade on. So if I'm looking at it on a 30-minute chart, I'm going to look at it 2 ATRs on a 30-minute. And if it's a 30-minute chart, I'm probably looking at a longer time frame trade. I'm going to go 2 ATRs with my stop. If If it's a market I trade all the time, like the NASDAQ, just through experience, I need about an 80 tick stop loss on the NASDAQ for trades to work out. And then I go default 80 ticks and then try to find some market structure around that 80 tick area to then hide behind. Right. So if I'm long, default 80 ticks, and then I'll find a support if it's near it to put my stop loss below that. And sometimes people say, 80 ticks is expensive, right? That's 20 points. That's what is that? $400 with a one lot. Yeah. Micros are available as well. And with micros, it makes a lot more sense. So your stop loss should be based on a couple of things. Market structure is definitely one of them. But then your account size as well. And the contracts that you're trading should reflect the account size and the balance that's in your account. What about you, Dakota?
I love what you said. So many questions that traders always ask when they're new or when they're trying to figure out, like, hey, how far should I have my stop loss? And sometimes they're just kind of wanting a concrete answer, like 15 points. We want 20 points, 15 points, 20 points. And my answer to them is always, it depends. It depends on the volatility, right? It depends on what market I'm trading and the market structure. Because, yeah, it would be easy to just say, every time I place a trade, I'm going to have a stop loss of 15 points on the NASDAQ. And I'm never going to change that, right? And, maybe some traders do trade like that, where they have a 15-point stop loss and maybe a 20-point take profit or a 30-point take profit. And that's the way they trade. I don't trade like that. Not a lot of traders that I do know trade like that, because they always want their stop loss in an area that makes sense. And now if we go back to my screen, there we go. And here's the Nikkei, the Japanese market. You can see where my stop loss is. This is a reason, like I have a reason why my stop loss is there, is because there is a pivot. It will take a lot of momentum and a lot of selling to break down through that. Now, if I had a set of ticks or set of points to where my stop loss is, it would be much, much harder, because some days the market is not as volatile and some days the market is very, very volatile, and 15 points might happen in like a second, especially during like a news event or something that's dramatic that comes out, or Powell's speaking and the market's moving 15 points a second, and it could come really, really fast. Then, like, yeah, 15-point stop loss is nothing. Just like you said, Coach Jay, drop down to micros, have a much wider stop loss, and then it's easier to manage. And the way that I love to trade, and I want to know your opinion on this, is using an ATR. So here's a 5-minute chart on the NASDAQ, and I'm going to add something called an ATR. Have you ever used an ATR, Coach Jay?
All the time. All the time.
Beautiful. It's essentially a volatility gauge, right? And when we're looking at this, and here's a beautiful example. Here's the New York session. Very simple, very straightforward. You can see how the average true range during the New York session, it was right around 17 points, and then it spiked up to maybe like 25, 26 points. And then during the afternoon, it dropped off back down to, 15, 6, 14 points. And then here during the Asian session, 5 points, right? And so it doesn't make sense to have like a 26-point stop loss when ATR's 5 points, or have a 5-point stop loss when the ATR's 26 points. And so a lot of times what I like to do is have my stop loss based off of an ATR. Have you ever done that? Have you ever heard of traders doing it? I know you mentioned, what was it, Coach? Is it Coach Ray or one of the other coaches who likes an ATR?
Coach Paul. Coach Paul, okay. 2 ATR stop, 3 ATR profit target is what he starts with. And I agree with what you just said about when that ATR is higher, especially during more volatile times. The stop loss might not fit. A 2 ATR stop loss might not fit the market conditions. I think that's where trade location comes into play. That's kind of built into your stop loss, right? If you're buying at the high of the market and the ATR on the NASDAQ is 26 points at that time, you might need a 40-point stop loss just for the market to do its natural movements. So trade location is extremely important when setting your stop, but you want to be in an area that makes sense for the market, not for your account. The market doesn't care about any of our accounts. is going to facilitate business wherever it needs to.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. And that's like the average walk of the market, right? Where it's just average volatility, expectation, and not kind of getting caught up in the fine nuances. So I think that's enough for stop losses. I covered this the other day. I mean, we kind of have the same stuff, right? We have the same feeling. It's very hard to trade any market with an exact concrete stop loss, and not putting your stop loss with an area that with a reason, right? If you can't measure, why did you have your stop loss there? Then how are you going to ever adjust, change, become a better trader? It doesn't mean that I'm right. Usually that's the case, is adjusting with the market, being fluid. The market changes, we change as traders, and not being so concrete depending on volatility.
I see questions. People are asking what an ATR is. Average true range. It's the average range for whatever time frame that you're looking at the market, right? So on a 3-minute chart, and you might ask, why my
let me switch to your charts and let's pull it up on yours.
Yep, I got the ATR. Range. I got the ATR indicator right under the chart here. You can see during these volatile times, I trade on a 3-minute chart. Why is my stop 20 points in the NASDAQ? Because the ATR during these high volatile times is right around 20 points. I'm not going to double the ATR at that point because we're in a trending market, and I'm going to focus on good trade location, but I'm going to go with 20. But we can see as the volatility slows down, as the volume decreases, like Dakota was saying, that number drops, and now it's around 10. At that point, I'll go 2 ATR stops. We're in a range. And the reason I go 2 ATR stops with a range is because I don't want to get wicked out, right? If I'm shorting at the high of the range, we know, especially with the NASDAQ, it doesn't hold range as well. So it might go 5 points above that range. I don't want to get stopped out on something like that if I'm right. So I'll give it the extra room with the idea that there's not enough volatility to break out of this range and then go back down to the other side.
Yeah, I like it. And because sometimes the range could be 15 points, it could be 20 points, it could be 5 points. You really never know what an exact range is going to be. Because when you wake up and we start trading a market, you're like, if we start range bound, we're going to be in a 5-point range, because that's not how it works. Yeah, ATR, average true range, makes sense. Let's make sure I got some of these questions. ATR is an indicator for volatility. Yes, I would agree with that statement. My power hour trade, guys, I ended up making like $150. Like it was a scratch trade for me.
Nice. It's Japanese yen trade.
Oh,
I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to go to sleep.
There you go. You're going to leave this trade on overnight?
I'm going to leave it on. Yeah, I left one on last night. It's funny. I had a few contracts on, and I had a take profit, and I normally don't trade with a take profit. I just trail as the market goes. But when you're sleeping, sometimes the market goes somewhere and bounces back up from that level, especially if you forget you had a trade on. But I had my take profit under where that PPI number printed. So when I woke up, I was just like, okay, we didn't hit my take profit and the market bounced back up. I probably need to take this off. But yeah, I'll leave this on. I'm okay with the $362 risk. If I'm awake and we start to trail back up towards this resistance, I may add one more contract and then bring that total to about $500 risking to make about a 1.5 to 1 to the downside.
Interesting. How do you feel about leaving a trade on overnight? That's the psychological part.
It depends on the market. I will probably never leave a NASDAQ trade on overnight. But a slower moving market, I'm okay with. I've done it a few times recently with the yen. I think I did an RBOB short, which is the gasoline futures, which has been in a downtrend as well. We've seen kind of some volume spike up in the middle of the night, and then using those volume spikes as a potential opportunity to go short, and then just leaving the trade on and trusting the trend. But
so you're not scared of some dramatic news event that spikes one direction or the other? I
mean, if you have your stop, you can go to sleep.
Ooh, doesn't matter. Go. That's the answer I was looking for. That's what I was fishing for, Coach Jay, because it's psychologically and mentally hard, because you have a habit of and I know I used to do this a lot, where I'd place a trade during slow markets, because this is, everyone knows I had a job and I was going to college, and this was the only time I could trade. And I would get in a very bad habit of just waking up in the middle of the night, looking at my phone, looking at the markets, what's my trade doing, this. And I struggled with sleep, and it was very hard for me until I just got used to it. And I'm just like, you know what? Anything can happen. Worst case scenario, I have my stop loss in. I trust my stop loss. I accepted my risk. You have your risk right there on TopstepX. It tells you right there. You wake up in the morning, say some dramatic news happened, and it just jumped and it blew through your stop loss. You get stopped out. You have some slippage. Your account's not going to be blown, and you've accepted the risk. And I see somebody in the chat, is TopstepX better than NinjaTrader 8? I'm going to say yes. I'm switching over. It's a learning curve for me. I'm working with Coach Robert. I'm watching some of the videos that he's posting here on YouTube and some of his training sessions. But TopstepX is getting better than NinjaTrader 8. It really is. And it's been nice. And you can see it right there on Coach Jay's chart that you guys could see. It shows you where you could drag your stop loss, and look at the DOM, look at the depth of market, and it's getting there. And it's built by traders, right? It's built by us. We've been going in, and everybody here has been putting in their requests, and it seems like new features every day almost, and it's nice.
Yeah, it's getting better. It's going to continue to get better, and it's still in its infancy stages, right? So there is a lot of room to continue, but where it is right now, this trade execution alone is one of my favorite makes it one of my favorite platforms to trade on. Scaling in and out of trades is the easiest that it's been in any platform that I've traded on.
Really?
In any platform that I've traded on, because you don't have to worry about it, right? I could have a 5 lot on, and if this goes in my favor, I just change this to 1, buy one at the market, and now everything is adjusted for the 4 that I have left. And I don't have to worry about it. Quant Hour, I have to click an extra button, and logistically, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because on my personal account, I like interactive brokers. Interactive brokers has been great for me. But sometimes it can get like complex. Whereas like if I tried to learn interactive brokers now for the first time, I'd probably get freaking lost.
Yeah.
But just to go off your point, in its infancy, Topstep released TopstepX like a few months ago, right? Like they announced it this year, and a few months later, we have all these amazing features, and it's continuing to improve. Of course, there's going to be bumps in the road with any release, with any platform. It'd be interesting to imagine where it's going to be in like this time next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. I know we're at the hour, Dakota. I want to answer a question. We got a question from Ron Paul. He's asked this question a few times. Did we already go over what good trade location is? Let's just talk about it. I'm going to pull up the NASDAQ, right? And let's talk about good and bad trade location and why that might be considered good or bad trade location. If anyone has been in any of my classes, I call bad trade location swimming in the shark tank. Bad trade location would be if you see the market sell off like this and you sell it down here. Terrible trade location.
Fair enough.
We are all the small fish. There's nothing that, maybe Dakota's live account now, he could push some markets around if he wanted to.
No.
But there's nothing in your account that says that if you sell down here that we need to continue, right? So for me, I'm always going to look for retracements. And if I believe that the move is still valid, then I'll get in at a better price than the last seller that got in down here. And then to the buy side, it's the same thing, right? Sometimes we'll see markets do this, right? It'll just go up, and it'll keep going up. And then we thought about buying it down here. We thought, you know what, this is scary. I don't want to buy it here. What if it goes down? And then it does this, and you say, well, damn it, if I just bought it, then I would be up 50 points. Not a good time to buy, because at that point you are in the shark tank.
Good trade location. That is as discretionary as it freaking gets, though, right?
Yep.
It's good trade
100%.
location after 10 minutes and it goes in your direction, right? Because some traders
Exactly.
where the market's selling off and we're down like 0.5%, or we're down like 300 points in the NASDAQ, and you buy it, is it good trade location? But then on the other hand, you're like, oh, you're fighting the trend. You're buying a market that's just selling off. That's bad. You're going to lose money. It's improbable. It all depends on your strategy. It really does. So if someone asks me what's good trade location, I said it depends. It depends on your risk reward. It depends on your strategy. But my answer to that question, and I get it. You copied and pasted that question a few times in the chat. The chat moves a lot. Don't get frustrated if we don't answer your question immediately. That's just how it is, right? We always tell you, if you don't get your question answered, copy paste. Don't get frustrated. But good trade location to me is where we get good risk reward. Hoag says a cheap trade, right? Good cheap trade. If we're at the high of the days, we sell off, we go back up, we test the high of the days. There's an argument to say that's a good cheap short and a good trade location for a short. But then if it blows through it like it did today, then that was a bad trade location because you're essentially selling as the market's rallying. So it's all about your perspective. I would just say buy high or buy low, sell high. Focus on risk reward, and maybe the best logical way to say this is a good trade location is a trade that's executed closest to your stop loss, and having the best risk reward. That's what I like to say.
I would 100% agree with that.
So, there we go, man. There you go. There's your slow markets. Glad to have you on, Coach Jay. I think that's
thank you for having me.
Before you go, I think Nuggets are going to win this championship.
I really want the Timberwolves to win this series. I think they have
their new Michael Jordan and
they have the new face of the league on their team. I think he really is that good. It just might not be their time yet, but I think the series is over tonight.
Yeah, everybody has a copy other than MJ or LeBron.
Exactly.
I think the Nuggets are going to win it, though. Who could take on Jokic, right? A farm boy that goes to a 9-to-5 job and doesn't even touch in a ball over the offseason is
right.
But I'm taking Nuggets to win it.
Speaking of which, I was watching the Knicks game before. Does anyone know if the Knicks won? Can someone let me know?
Let's take a look. They end of third quarter, they're up by 20.
Nice. Okay, good. Let's go New York.
Nuggets
Knicks
are
and
tied.
6.
They're coming on. They play tonight. They play in 25 minutes, and that's a tight series. That's going to be a good one. I'm going to watch that. And I'll watch the markets. I'm still in my Nikkei long. And other than that, I will be on Power Hour tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. If you're going to be on Power Hour, I will see you then. And then I'll see you, Coach Jay, Friday morning for Fast Markets. Maybe we could get MP on there. We could get a house account trade.
Let's do it.
All right. Take care, everybody. Take care, Jay.
Have a good night.